Ми починаємо нашу дискусійну панель Making UA, історія успіху, і передаю слово нашому модератору Сергію Цівкачу, виконавчому директору UkraineInvest.
І я перехожу на англійську мову.
We can switch to English.
You can switch to English. Yeah. So, hello everyone again, and I welcome you to the second session of our meeting today, which is very important for my team and myself personally, because success stories are the best stories that promote Ukraine throughout the world. And I am surrounded by successful businessmen and businesswomen, yeah, around me. So this is a very good session specifically for UkraineInvest. And our session is being broadcasted. So this session will be seen by foreign investors, by Ukrainian investors, which is very informative for them. So we're talking today about furniture cluster in Rivne region, which is very good, it's specialized, it has potential, and it has already a proven track of development in the region. So today we will be talking to businesses that already operate in Ukraine. These are mainly businesses that with foreign investments, but with Ukrainian and international managers. So I will be referring to these companies first of all to make presentation about their activities in the region, and then we'll be asking questions and we'll be going into a discussion mode in order to bring that information that is available for you on daily basis, but is not known to the audience throughout the world or in other regions of Ukraine. So our first speaker is Pavlo Piltai, who is the executive director of Kronospan Rivne. Pavlo, Kronospan is one of the biggest investors in the region right now and has big plans for development. Could you give us more information about what you do, your plans, and then we'll talk about benefits of the region and some additional views on your business. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Pavlo Piltai, and I think maybe we will start firstly with a small presentation about Kronospan, where we are in the world and in the Rivne also. I do not take a lot of time. I try to make it very quick, and after that maybe you will have some questions, and I will ask you for your question. Okay, let's start. About Kronospan, presentation in Ukrainian, but I will speak in English. We have 59 factories in the world, 54 in Europe, 2 in Asia, and 2 in North America. And we have more than 40 factories, and more than 15,000 people are working in our factories. And also we want to show you want to show you the map how we will about our development, and why I want to show you to these 2 slides, when you can see that Kronospan developing not only in Ukraine, like some people try to told that Kronospan are going to Ukraine because Ukraine have a very cheap wood and something else. Kronospan also has a big developing program in whole Europe, and you can see that in 2008 we had less number of factories and activities in Europe than we have now. We also try to develop our activities in whole Europe and Ukraine, and it is also part of the Europe when we will plan to build our factories and increase our economic activity. Next slide. It is our main portfolio. We will plan to present that our production it will be from using our production will be possible to make the furniture and also repairing work and for whole building. You can see that we will plan to produce OSB plate, the practical board, and other production, which will be very useful for people, not only like production of furniture and also for the repairing work. First, our factory located in Novovolinsk. It is close to the border between Ukraine and Poland. And this factory was built and started to work in 2004. For 2020, the average number of its investments to Novovolinsk now is 392 million euros. You can see that also that how our investments in Ukrainian market are growing starting from the 2004 to 2020. And you can see also the our fees which we are paid during this period. And also for all of us will be very much more interesting about our investment to the Rivne region. Our first investment, it is a factory for practical board production. We will plan to invest 200 million euros and we will plan to start first board production in at the end of October. And I hope in this year we start to produce the practical board. Next step, it is the OSB production. It is also 200 million euro investments. We will plan to finish our civil work and start to produce first OSB plate in I think that may be third quarter of the next year. But it is not so smooth for us to work and invest to Ukraine. You can see that we start our investment in 2018, and only in after 1 year, little bit more than one year, in 2020 we received permit for start civil works. And all this, maybe 1.5 years, we have a lot of different problem to receive some permits, to take some signs or some confirmation from government authorities. But big help for us that we have the Invest in Rivne company, which very help us to solve some problem, and the region administration, which also push for some question which we do not possibility to solve himself. And starting from 2020, we start to build in work. You can see what the place we are bought and where we can start to our building activity. It was the old factory which produced the it is a steel steel production factory. It's like a ruin. Why this place was interesting for us? Because you can see close to this place we have the railroad connection, the road connection also very good, and we have the electricity, because we need for a lot of electricity for our production work, and in this place we have the as a power station. And we organized demolition process. We demolished old buildings, and after that we make the landing work and start to build the new factory. You can see next slide. It is this photo we make 3 months ago, and now situation much more better. And we will plan to, as I told before, before the end of October to start to produce first plate. Also, what? Yes, okay. Also, very important for us, it was the ecological question, because starting from the our activity, we have a lot of question from the people who are living close to our factory, from ecological organization and other organization and people. And we closely collaborate with all these organization and people, because our target to explain that our production, it is ecology oriented. We are working in using European standards and practice, and we will plan to implement these standards and practice in our production activity. First of all, we also very precisely looking for the quality of timber which we are purchasing, because each timber must to have the FSC certificate. It is very important for us, because we must to be sure that all this timber which we are buying, it is white, not black, not like gray. It must be white, and because for us it's very important law about the timber purchasing, which discussed in this panel maybe half hour ago, before. And I think that if most of companies will have the same approach for understanding where we are buying this timber, it will be much more easy to legalize this kind of market. Also, we will plan to implement new system for ecological system which protect environment from the dust and other chemical pollution. Yes, it will be the UTVS and WESP system. It is newest system which which we have in Europe, and in our factory we will plan to install these filters. Each filters costs close to the 20 million euros. And these filters will work in Rivne, and I hope that the pollution will be at the minimum. Because of, we will try, and I think that before the end of September, we install the special module which will be monitor the situation around our factory, which will be monitor the formaldehyde, dust, etc., that will be checked, and we want that this model start to work before our production activity, because we want to show for people that they do not see big difference in environment in Gorodok and cities close to our factory at the formaldehyde and other pollution. We will try to reduce this, that we'll see that it not will be more or it will be the same as what they have before. And we will plan to install and have also a lot of problem with this point installation, with find to the best place. We have a lot of meetings, and now we finalize this topic, and I think it also will be successful. And also, as we told before, we're very interested in increase export activity, furniture export activity of Ukraine, because we will want to be like Poland, because you can see that Ukraine now have only €500 million export activity. Poland has €11 billion export activity, and our target it will be like a Poland, 11 billion furniture export activity. And because of we will plan to work with cluster project, and also we organize the first private industrial park in Rivne region. That's all.
Thank you very much, Pavlo. I have a quick question to you, because now we're talking to a big audience here. So could you just name how much you invested so far, and how much is your plan to invest, and within what period of time?
Already now we invested 170,000 million euro. First step of investment it's 200 million euro, and second step is additional 200 million euro. We will plan to invest totally in PB and OSB line production 400 million euro, and the term of investments it's end of the 2022.
Thank you very much. And you are like a powerful producer, you know, of this wood plates. And what is your plan in terms of the sale of your produce? Are you going to export more, or you can sell within Ukraine, and by doing so to attract more furniture producers to the region and making that furniture cluster in Rivne? So do you have any policy which will allow you to sell outside or inside, or it's only like commercial agreement that you will have with any company that is interested in your goods?
We're really interested to develop a market into Ukraine, and we're really interested that most of our production are using in Ukraine. And because of now we start to work with logistic hubs, which we also want to organize in Central Europe, in West and East, and also in West and East Europe, also organize some logistic hub where we plan to collect our production for furniture producers, yes, and we will plan to increase our sales activity into Ukraine.
Thank you very much. So this will enable, you know, all companies to come to Ukraine and then get your goods at better price without that extra logistics. So now I want to move to Lorraine and Franklin McMahon. We know each other for not for a long time, but we're already something good friends. And you are very good friends of Ukraine. You do business in Ukraine since 2011. And just recently you expanded your production line in Ukraine. I was present at the opening. It was impressive. You are going to invest some millions of US dollars in your production. You already invested those money. So could you tell us about your experience in Rivne, and then share information about what you do, what are your plans as well? Thank you.
Thank you, Sergey. Maybe I will start by talking a bit about what we've done in Ukraine. You know, we started in 2011, but actually we invested in 2006. So we've been in Ukraine for quite a while. Like with Pavlo, it took us time to get started. This is with a slide, you will see our territory. We have around 50 hectares in Kvasuliv, just off Rivne. And we started production in 2012. Next slide. most of our, we export 100% of our production, mostly to the EU, and the last 2 years we started exporting to the US. So here you see our production facilities. We want to be as vertically integrated as possible to buy, in Ukraine and transform ourselves. So we invested in a sawmill, which you see at the bottom picture. This is our export market, Europe and the US. We have today more than 1,100 employees, almost 50% men, 50% women, and with many women in senior positions. What's our strategy is to continue to invest in the Rivne region. We're very happy with what we have achieved in the region. It's been a very complicated process. I will not say that it's been smooth. We started when we started production in Ukraine, we were selling to IKEA Russia. So this had to change very rapidly in 2014. But we managed to make the turn to Europe, where we had the rest of our customers, in Europe. We believe in vertical integration because it allows us to control quality, which is very important. Part of the issues in purchasing from Ukraine is to find the right quality. Unfortunately, there are still many things that we could buy in Ukraine, but that we import from Poland because we don't get the right quality in Ukraine. Next slide. So, but to show our success, this year our growth rate is above 50%, and we expect this to continue. This is on the basis of all the investment we've made in prior years, and the opening of a U.S. market, where we have to thank Mr. Trump for that, where the extra tariff that the U.S. has imposed on goods from China has forced all of the big U.S. retailers to look elsewhere for imports, and Ukraine is one of the possibilities. Next slide. So what are our development plan? We just finished an investment in a foaming line, which we opened 2 weeks ago, and now we are starting to renovate part of this big blue building that you see on the slide, which we want to fully renovate, and we intend to triple our revenues compared to what we have today. We are very excited by the Rivne cluster. We believe that it makes sense, to have as many suppliers as close as possible to us. Logistic costs are important. If we can reduce them, it makes a lot of sense. So we are, looking forward to working with the administration on that, because it's very important. What are, some of the things that we need? Workforce. We are dependent on the workforce. We produce sofas that are demanding from a labor standpoint, and so we need trained workforce that's ready to stay in the region and not migrate to Europe, when for the picking season every year in the summer. So we have challenges, but I expect that we will succeed, and we look forward to the next few years. Next slide. These are what we expect. We've looked at cluster before, and we have done a lot of calculation in terms of whether it makes sense, and it does make a lot of sense. We can develop a skilled workforce. If we have investments in Poland, for example. In Poland, it's much easier to recruit skilled workers because they are everywhere. You have furniture producers in every city, several. So getting to that state in Ukraine would allow us much more flexibility. And so I think that one of the things that we've talked to the administration about is developing vocational training, which is important because most of the workers that we hire, they've never worked in a factory before. We have to train them from scratch. They've never had to obey rules, come up on time, This is all very new to them. And if we had, workers that had, more training, it would allow us to grow faster. Next slide. So these are, the main points that we're, focusing on. One is find enough workers that, that are interested in working in an industrial environment. The second point, which is very important for us, which is the wood, which we've discussed before. We are not as big a user of wood as Kronospan, but we still need some wood on top of the Kronospan products. And that's important to us to know that we can find it at the right price. Number 3, which is lack of permits for Ukrainian trucks entering Europe, is a huge issue for us. It's a problem every year because each country in Europe gives a certain number of permits, transit permits to Ukrainian trucks, and they are limited. And every year, especially in the fourth quarter, we have problems. It's impossible to, invest in Ukraine if you can't export. And if we can't find trucks, then we cannot export. So this is really an issue that has to be focused on. And I understand that the government is talking to Brussels about it. And the last point is, tax regulations in Ukraine are unfortunately not always very clear. And, this is something that we have suffered from. And, the administration is trying to improve on that record. I can testify that it is much better now than it was, but there are still more progress that could be made on that point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. And I have one quick question to you. I know that you have some new initiative, which is, I understand, is a good kind of a business way for you, but it's very also important for local government and for local people, because you are planning to employ people at their homes, women specifically, which is very smart in terms of pandemic, and it's a very good way to, show Ukraine and local people that you are interested in cooperation with them, that you are going, towards them. Could you give us a bit more information about that initiative and how it's going to work?
Yeah, I think that, instead of trying to bring all of our employees to our factory, we should go to where they are. There are many women in villages that are not able to find work because they have to take care of their children. And so they cannot, work in 2 shifts and get up at 4 in the morning because somebody needs to be home to make breakfast. And we want to give opportunities to these women. I mean, it could be men as well. In China, there are many men suing, but it's more rare in Ukraine. Give them opportunities to basically work from their homes when they want. We would bring, the equipment, bring the work, and then just come collect it, once a week or once every 2 weeks. And I think that could be a very good option for these women that are, that today have no way to make a living. They don't have a way to get, paid for what they do. They usually maybe take care of a house and have a private garden. But, a possibility to actually have a job and contribute to the family's earnings, I think should be a very attractive opportunity.
I'll just add something. The idea, I think, is a win-win formula for us and for the people in the regions, because in our case, we can have some distributed manufacturing. It wouldn't be possible in the case of Kronospan, given the nature of its production. But given the nature of sewing or some of the component production that we have, we can do it on a satellite or distributed basis. So it benefits us, and it's obviously also can be economically significant and a win for the people.
Thank you very much for this initiative. I think it's a very good idea, and it could be, spread out throughout Ukraine with kind of production lines that can be, put to that kind of cooperation basis. Thank you, and we will come back to questions, and we'll come back to discussion. Our next speaker is Larsen Steen Levering. It's our friend from Denmark. We have very good connection with Danish businesses, and I'm very happy that Hjort Knudsen, Danish company, is developing in Ukraine. Again, you're not for the first year here. You're connected to Ukraine not only through business, so you know country well. And recently, again, you announced your next stage of investment. So could you tell our audience a bit more about business you do, your investments made so far, and what are your plans and the current investment? How is it going now?
It's going very well, and this Saturday we start to lift the construction on the site. So it's moving ahead like we planned, and we hopefully will have the first building closed in the end of October.
Thank you. So, about your business then.
Yeah.
Thank you for this good update.
So Hjort Knudsen is a family company that was started in 1977, and it's been operating in Ukraine now for the last 10 years. Next. And we are important for the company is to have clear values and to be having a very good relation with the clients and suppliers and colleagues and employees. What it was? Huh? Yeah, and like you can see, the Hjort Knudsen, we have factories in England and Poland, Ukraine, and now also one in India. In India, it will be mainly sewing production. So now it's good. And the first production in Ukraine, it was in 2010. Like I said before, it was in Lviv. And then shortly after, it was coming to Puchayev in Chernobyl region. And then it was Velika Mosta and Brode. And today, the main activities are still in Brode, and where we have expanded a lot the last 3 years and made new production facilities. And in Rivne, we are planning to build the first 16,000 production square meters till the end of this year. And in the next year, we will have a start-up on the phase 2. The phase 2 is also around 16,000 square meters in production. And like you can see on the picture, then the gray part is the first phase, and the yellow is the second phase of the investment. So totally, with the social areas and the office premises and the exhibition room, it will be 37,000 square meters that will be in the new place. So it was our short presentation of the company.
Thank you, Larsen. So how much is your investment so far into Ukraine?
Into Ukraine totally, I cannot really tell you, but what I'm standing for till now, then we have invested 18 million euro.
Already
yes.
So far. Okay.
Yes.
And you have some further plans
yes.
for investment
yes.
for this second line,
yes.
which is quite big as well.
Yeah.
So all of you, all our reputable speakers here, you are present in Ukraine not for the first year, for 10 years and more. And you have seen a transformation of Ukraine during these years. So I would like to address a question to all of you, like one by one. What kind of difference have you seen, like from 2010 through 2021? Do you see Ukraine being developing in the right way? Do you see local government being closer to you, listening to you better, and helping you more? Maybe starting with Larsen.
For sure, the local governments, they are more friendly, let's say like this, and more open to talk with.
So was it in any way a decision that you made to invest more? Was it connected to development of regulatory policy and government as well, or only your business plans?
No, it was business.
But the government was helping you on the way?
Yeah, for sure, the Rivne was chosen by the regions where we are presented today, together with the Danish management, and we chose the Rivne after the support we had from the team of the government.
Right. So the support was one of the decision kind of making points for you.
Yes, it was.
Thank you. Pavlo, well, you probably can tell us more than everyone, you know.
For us, yes. For us, it's like for me. It's I feel and see how significantly change the custom office in Ukraine. I don't know how for other companies, but we during our investment project in Rivne, we do not have any problem with custom clearance. We organize like a custom clearance of production line, etc. And it was very good that customs really help us how make it easy and quicker, and it was very good for other investments and other investors which will come to Ukraine, because import of production line, production facilities, it's also very important.
Thank you. So I just want to emphasize that this is not a promotion session for the government. It's because we do not work for local government.
Yes,
we cooperate with them. So for us, it's very important to hear like honest views. You know, what is being developed, what do we need to improve. You know, like kind of public discussion. So customs are doing better.
Customs doing better, but what we must improve it's situation in civil work market. Because yes, because the permits which we must to take during the civil work process, it's like it's a big headache. Sometimes it is we spend a lot of time for waiting some documents from guys who do not interest in it is your building activity as staying in this moment, working in this moment for these guys in nothing matter. And second point, it is our Ukrainian railroad, because it's also the terrible situation now in into the Ukrainian railroad, UZ. It's like I think that UZ still staying in 30s. Maybe Stalin is still the portrait of Stalin still staying in the cabinets. Yeah. 1930s, yeah, 1930s, and I think it's where the government must do something change and as quick as possible.
Very good point, and I know that the newly appointed Ministry of Infrastructure is doing a lot in terms of support for development of Ukrainian railways. This is a very important point, and again, the regional development heavily is dependent on central government and on kind of cross-country services. So we can see that, and so regional government can do a good job, but then we need to have some cross-country development of the system itself. Franklin, Lorraine, 2011, 2021.
Well, I'll give you the positive. I'll start from today, last week. Let me give you the positive as well as the negative, taking a cue from you, Mr. Tsivkach. On the positive, I think that context always matters. So an investment decision is much easier to make when there's a positive environment. So, that's I think, axiomatic everywhere in the world. What I see as being different in Ukraine today from 10 or 15 years ago is two things. First, a pro-business attitude on the part of the regional government, which is sincere. I think that there's goodwill and meaning behind the nice words, which there were always nice comments, but maybe there was less substance in the past than today. That today you actually get proactive pro-business action, which means a lot, because entrepreneurs by definition are results-oriented people. Secondly, I see that there are actually economic policies and programs that make sense to me. The cluster program, the industrial park program, and many other things that are legislated, which didn't exist to support major investment in the past. So I think that those are two very positive developments. On issues that need to be improved, I would mention two things. Red tape, to go to the Pavlov's comments, which is in the civil area as well as a number of other areas. The administrative processes could be streamlined and improved, become more effective. Now that I think is true in many countries. It's not just Ukraine, but Ukraine fights a special burden some of the time. And second, I would mention tax. While general rule of law is much improved in Ukraine, and I think is heading, very much in the EU direction, I think that the tax authorities complicate life some of the time, because as Ryan mentioned, the rules are opaque, complex, subject to interpretation, and the tax authorities don't always have the same motivation as the Rivne Oblast administration. Thank you.
I mean, on tax, if we start in 2011, then the improvements is notable, because at that time we could not get our VAT back. So, I mean, when you're an exporter and you can't get your VAT back, that's a death now. So that has changed. So there's been a huge amount of change, and if it was not that change, I don't think we would continue to invest in Ukraine, because it was just too difficult. I mean, so I do think that what the changes in the government, the changes in the approach are making investments possible. But we want to see a continuation, because there's still, I think, some ways to go to make the environment more business friendly with all these rules. I mean, when Pablo talked about customs, I want to laugh, because yes, they are better than they were 10 years ago, but still, if you ask any like EU big machine exporter and you ask them for all the details we need for Ukraine, they think that we're crazy, that we need a listing of every single parts with dimensions and weight. They never have to do that, whether they export to Russia or China. But in Ukraine, if you don't have that information, you cannot pass customs. So, I mean, it's like, they think that we're in a different planet, just because we want to import like a big machine from Europe. So yes, it's better, yes, but still it's very burdensome compared to what you have to do in other countries.
Thank you. There is always the beginning with reforms, but there is never an end, because you always have to develop. But yes, Ukraine is working towards that, and we have seen results. But yes, we need to pick up the pace, and continue that, not to lose the speed, which is very important. Thank you. So now I want to go one more question to all of you. We have been talking today about industrial parks in Ukraine, so which are like special economic zones where SMEs specifically, they can join this zone and they can operate. And this also very important for clusters, because when you have a cluster, you have different suppliers that they can produce different goods that are needed for the end product, which is produced by maybe anchor investor in this industrial park. So I would like to ask you, if you would have, and you do, you have industrial park, and I know that maybe you are planning as well, and maybe other companies are planning as well. So in your ideal industrial park, who would you like to see from other suppliers in order to make your business more effective? Larsen. So that would be a good promotion, for international businesses who can come here, or Ukrainian businesses who can bring money or partners and do it jointly with you.
What I see we can have a use for, it's efficient metal production, where we can get our components for the mechanisms and the tier production, the waistliner. And then also, for sure, some electronic. We are using a lot of motors and control boards in our tiers, and there can also be a big potential. And the same with plastic. We are using a lot of plastic components also. Leather, I think it's a long way. So it will not be tomorrow. But of course, later it could be interesting, but it will take years.
So would you be interested in such a cluster to have those companies next to you?
For sure, it could be interesting.
Pablo, I don't know, do you need anyone, you know?
Yes, we need. Yeah, okay, we really need, because we really interested that it's everywhere it is a business, yes, and we were really interested also that when we have close a lot of partners, furniture production companies, for us will be also it's very good, because we will have reliable contractors. Yes, we will have less logistic expenses, and for us it is like a priority. And as I told you before, that first step it is industrial park. Next step it is a furniture cluster for us.
So you would like to see furniture producers next to you?
We want to see furniture makers, furniture producers, and we are ready to maybe in next year, starting from next year, to start to work about the furniture cluster project here in Rivne.
Thank you. And same question to McMahon family.
I think that two things that would be helpful. One is wadding production, polyester wadding, and the second one is cardboard, because we need cardboard for our packaging, and whether it's transformation of cardboard or production of cardboard, but that would also be useful.
I would add that we agree with Steen. A metals component producer or plastic component producer could also be of interest.
So maybe after this session we can speak to you then direct and ask about specifications, what exactly we need, and then put it on our UkraineInvest guide, because we have a guide for investors from abroad and for investors from Ukraine, and show this opportunity. And then when they're interested, they can come to you, talk to you, and we will help you to set up jointly with local government, Invest in Rivne, members of parliament. We will help you set it up. So today we have talked about cooperation, we have talked about developments in Ukraine, and we have talked about the future as such. Because Rivne's future, I'm sure, it's not only about furniture cluster, but it's a very predictable future. So building on that, we can think about new clusters for Rivne. We can think about new clusters for other regions of Ukraine. And we are always here to help. We're always here to support. And we'll be collecting all our tasks today. All your messages will be conveyed to government, to relevant authorities, and we'll be giving you feedback. You can rely on that. So maybe just a couple of last words to investors or to businesses that watch us now. 20 seconds. 20 seconds.
I think if you have a good project, then Ukraine is a good option for investment, and there is a good future to get your investment back.
I think that when investors will have possibility to push to the government, and government will have possibility to hear investors and prepare the maximum environment, yes, for investing. I think that you will see how many companies will come here and start their business in Ukraine. I think because it depends from both sides, from companies which are already here and from government. And if really want to increase number of investors, you must to change approach to each companies, not only for external, also for internal companies.
Lorraine and Franklin, your closing remarks?
I think that Ukraine is a very attractive country with many people. You know, we've chosen to invest in Ukraine for export, but you know, we hope that the development of a local market would also allow us to start selling our furniture, you know, locally. So when you look at investing in Ukraine, there is a double potential, you know, the EU being next door, but also the local market. I mean, it's a big country with a lot of potential. The more foreign investment you're going to have in the country, the more the country will develop quickly and will have an internal market that's significant.
I think that Ukraine offers great potential to foreign investors, and if I mentioned the slides that you showed on FDI, or economically significant investments, a very large percentage of the total investments were in the manufacturing sector. So I would highlight that manufacturing is particularly interesting in Ukraine from my perspective. And I think that the potential is there to be realized, and what the focus needs to be on execution. The government has fantastic opportunities and foreign investors have tremendous opportunities, but the degree of progress will depend upon the strength of the execution.
Thank you very much for this session today. This is not the first, not the last. We'll be talking about developments on a continuous basis. A couple of remarks from myself. We understand that investment is not an easy way for any country or for any region, and usually it's dependent on kind of technical level. When businesses, they come to the region or to the country and they calculate if they can make profit and how they make profit, and if there is regulatory policy or there needs to be improved. And then there is another element which is more emotional, is trust. When you meet local governments and local businesses that you will be working along with, and you look into their eyes, and then you can see whether they are partners or not. And these events are also very important, you know, for that specific element. And when today I look at local government, local businesses, if I would have investment suitcase with me right now, I would invest in Rivne, in furniture cluster. So thank you very much, and looking forward to our new meetings and sessions and conferences. And maybe Sergey.
Yes, thank you so much, Sergey. We are +1 to new investors. Thank you so much, honored guests. Thank you all who watching us. Дякую всім, що приєдналися сьогодні до нас. Слідкуйте за історією успіху і наших інвесторів, і історію успіху створення меблевого кластеру на Рівненщині. І залишайтесь здорові, всього вам самого найкращого. Дякую.